case I don't already know you, your cousin I haven't met yet, I am Dia Sims. It's Dia, like day in Spanish. Put that in your brain. I don't take it for granted, right, being a part of an industry like this. I started off my adult career out of college working for the Department of Defense on things like helicopters and tripartite agreements with France and Singapore and the US on cat vision goggles and Navy jets, and it was very serious. And our industry is serious, don't get me wrong, but it was like very serious. So after being in this industry on and off about 25 years, every single morning, like legitimately, I feel grateful, right? To be able to sell tequila and talk about how important inclusion is for our bottom line and work alongside people I really admire and really respect, and also just have fun, right? Your life is short, so I'm always grateful to be a part of this incredible industry. During that time, I got to work with a lot of incredible brands. Way back, I used to work with old Seagrams. Anybody remembers those days? So I worked on brands like Crown and Martell and did some fun stuff with Appleton Rum and got to work with Tanqueray and Guinness. Spent a long time in the early days building a brand called Ciroc Vodka, and I'm really proud today to be CEO of Lobos 1707 Tequila and Mezcal, which is a brand that has over 50% diverse ownership. So I want to talk a little bit about my time at Ciroc, because I think it's a beautiful example of what intentional inclusion looks like. In the very early days in 2007, when there weren't a lot of these kind of culture and commerce deals in the industry, right? It was somewhat revolutionary. And when we put together, me working on the side of Combs Enterprises with a gentleman, Sean Puff Daddy, Diddy, P-Diddy, Brother Love. I don't know I didn't check Instagram today, so I'm not sure what his name is today. Back then, we called him Puff, deal with Diageo, and it was really quite forward-thinking, right? It was really being inclusionary on purpose at a time when no one was talking about this at all, right? Sometimes it can feel like inclusion again, I did inclusion last week, right, nowadays, but back then it was very much not a point of conversation, but what it was a commercial opportunity for us to access an audience that had not been engaged, invested in a requited and consistent manner, right? And when Catherine said inclusion is good for the bottom line, all the facts, all the math, every study bears that out, right? So I think we still have to get over the hurdle of viewing that like we have to be intentional about this. But we're all pretty intentional about making money, right? So just make sure you're including, right, that intentionality of inclusion as a subset of one of your commercial imperatives. When we built that brand, and grew it from about 75,000 cases to now, Claudia, check my math, but it's well over 10 million cases sold, right, since inception. And, you know, at the time when it was growing, it felt like it was growing so fast and people in the industry were almost a little nervous, like, oh, it's taking share from other brands at the same price point. And it felt like it was a zero-sum game. But in fact, it wasn't, right? Now, the hindsight of looking back, you now have another billion-dollar brand in the industry that invited more people to drink responsibly in the industry, and we actually grew the pie. There's a lot of misconception that the game of inclusion, diversity, if you will, is a game of musical chairs. When in fact, if you are doing it right, it should be about building a bigger table.